This is thunder in the spirit of thunder, which is a Heyoka thunder dreamer type spirit. I want to talk about double standards today. It's really relevant in my life, and everybody's really, for that matter. Uh, we live in a double standard world, people. One set of rules for one people and another set for the others. And this is our government. This is our government. This is the US of A, baby. And this is all governments, really. They set up standards, they set up rules that they don't obey, and they want others to obey. And so, consequently, this kind of sickness, this kind of worldview, this kind of mindset filters down to the rest of us. And it comes from a lot of places. It comes from governments, comes from religion. Okay? So let's use the word hypocrite. Hypocrite. One person does one thing and yet they think that the other people should do another, like, say, governments, the clergy. Religion's really a big one for this because they say, thou shalt not do this and thou shalt not do that. But then they go ahead and do it. Like the clergy will be doing things, unspeakable things, while they're telling people to be moral. Take, for instance, the Catholic Church and the priests raping kids. Okay. Take, for instance, the government. Let's talk about the government and how they don't want you to commit violence, for instance. They say you can't have guns. You're hurting one another. It's hurting society. Oh, really, you lying bastards? Because what do? They commit horrible freaking atrocities around the world in the name of their hegemony and in the name of trying to possess everything and trying to run everything with their rules, which again don't apply to them but apply to other people. I'm sick of the bullshit. And I noticed this in my personal life too, and I noticed it in relationships. Where there's a double set of standards. Hypocritical bullshit. But getting back to the gun thing, they're saying that don't commit violence, don't hurt people, don't shoot people. And they're committing atrocities. Like the US right now is involved in, like I said, taking over the world, basically. They want to take over the world, capture all the resources. And so they're killing a lot of innocent freaking people. They have proxy armies that, are terrorists. And that's where real terrorism is coming from, is from your own government. Wake up, people. Tired of talking about this. They create proxy armies like ISIS and the al-Nusra Front and all these Middle Eastern bad guys. Well, guess who's funding them, and guess who's sending them weapons, and guess who's supplying them with man pads, which are rockets that can be fired from the shoulder, and guess who is taking out, say, like whole refugee camps to try to make another country look bad, like Russia. And who is saying that in Syria Assad must go? And who is saying that Russia is a threat to the world? And who is saying that China has no right to build islands in their own Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of China? And who is funding Saudi Arabia and supplying them with buku weapons in the in the millions and billions of dollars and having them attack countries like Yemen because they want to put in a puppet government, and Libya. And these are the same people that are saying you can't have guns because you might hurt one another, and they fly drones over wedding parties and blow babies to bits because it's part of their agenda. This is a sickness, people. And it's filtering down into our society, and it's not filtering, it's indoctrinated into our society since day one through religious concepts. And where did all the religious concepts come from? The Church of Rome. And all other religions sprouted off after that. And the Church of Rome are the biggest friggin' liars that walk the face of the earth. Now, I'm not saying all the people that are Catholics or all the people that are religious or all the people that are call themselves Christians are bad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they're misled, they're brainwashed, and they go along with the program, which makes them even worse in a sense. And this rubs off. This is indoctrinated into people since day one about, don't do as I, do as I say, don't do as I do. Do as I say, don't do as I do. And so people have become, it has become a schizophrenic society, Because people don't know what to do, really. They think that they have a moral conscience, and they think that they're doing certain things in the name of goodness and the name of justice and that type of thing. And yet they're looking at the people that tell them to do it this way that aren't doing it. So they become schizophrenic in a way. And they begin acting out the behavior of those who are teaching them. They start acting out the behavior of those who are teaching them. And they might do it unknowingly, and they might do it knowingly. But most of the time it's unknowingly. Because they're in sleeper mode. Reference the book Emergence. They're in sleeper mode, and they're walking around like zombies. They're slaves. And so this whole line of thinking rubs off on everybody, and you got to be careful that it doesn't filter down into your freaking life. Morality and judgment on different people, and Now, people like us that are walking around aware and enlightened and are free spirits, and I declare myself a free spirit, and I declare myself a thinker and an enlightened being and a shaman. We think outside the box. We make our own rules, okay? We make our own rules, and those rules are set by our spiritual connection. And what is a spiritual connection? Well, it's a true understanding of who the self is. And that understanding is that there is no self. You have to be selfless. So when we go through life in, let's say, relationships, this whole thing can take on that same aura that I'm talking about here of double standards. Because one mate or one person that's in love with another will act one way with one set of rules, but yet they'll want their mate or their significant other or the person they love to operate on a different set of rules, rules that benefit them and not the other person. You have to really analyze yourself and see, am I telling somebody else to do something that I'm not doing? Am I telling somebody else, or am I getting angry with somebody else for something they're doing that I'm not doing? Or am I getting angry with somebody else because they're acting in a certain manner that I don't want them to act in, but yet I'm doing the same. I'm doing that. I'm acting out in that manner that I do not want them to do. You get my drift here? And everything is a relationship. Relationships with governments, relationships with your mate, relationships with countries, one country with another, interrelationships, as in relating to. And I'm just seeing so much hypocrisy in the world, and I'm seeing it. I see it even in my own life with my supposed quote unquote loved ones that surround me. It's bullshit. And so that can lead us to the word trust. And it can lead us to the words unconditional love, and it can lead us to the words compassion and all those things that Yeshua talked about. I was telling somebody yesterday, I'm not a Bible thumper, and I don't look at the Bible as a lot of people do. Christians, for instance. I'm not religious. I read all spiritual books. I read the Tao Te Ching. I read the I Ching. I read the Bhagavad Gita. I read the Upanishads. I read Hopi Prophecy, which I really love. To me, that's number one. And I look at the Bible, and I look at Yeshua as a person that said certain things that is basically enlightened good advice. I don't look at him as the Son of God and, nailed to the cross for our sins and all that bullshit. That's something that the Church of Rome developed, okay? It has nothing to do with Christ or what he stood for, which is informing people and enlightening people. So yes, I quote things from Yeshua from time to time. Because just like Buddha, he was an enlightened one. And we all should be enlightened. And I guess that's why we go through some of the trials and tribulations and hard times in our life, so that we can true ourselves out like an edged weapon, okay, like a katana, like a sword, so that we can cut through the freaking bullshit. This is what we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and everybody's dealing with it. And I see it surrounding me. Coming from every angle. People in my own family, people that I care about, people that I love, people that are close to me, people that are relationships, people that are friends. Getting caught up in this double standard bullshit. That's why it's so important to be a free spirit. like Geronimo, like Crazy Horse, like people that had courage and understanding about what was really going down. There's nothing worse than a hypocrite. There's nothing fucking worse than a hypocrite. Somebody that wants you to bend to their will and set up a set of rules that benefits them. That's why there are no rules. That's why Thunder doesn't believe in, like, quote unquote relationships, and because relationships are all fucked up. The true relationship is oneness. The true relationship is seeing the other person as yourself. And so sometimes, I must admit, I may not like what I see in others, but it's always a reflection of the self. It's always a reflection of the self. And so when I get into a situation where somebody's giving me a hard time, or they're reflecting things that I don't like, I always look at myself and I go, is that a reflection of me? Because we're all one, baby. We're all one. And whatever is inside of us will, as sure as hell, manifest on the outside of us. So anytime, just so you know, anytime that I get upset with things like I am right now, with the world, with relationships, with the way people act in relationships, with the way people treat me, I double check myself and go, is that coming from inside of me? Is that me? Am I doing that in some way, shape, or form or manner? I always look at myself. I've always done that. But that doesn't preclude me from talking about this shit. For the good of everybody. It's a double standard world, and people are all living by double standards. One set of rules for them, the other, another set of rules, and that's what causes all the problems. Hypocritical actions. So what do we do when we find somebody in our life or the world or whatever doing this to us? Well, first of all, we say, am I doing it to myself? Because again, we create our own reality from within. But where's that reality come from that we're creating from within? Where does it come from? Does it come from a societal brainwashing episodes in our lives that we've experienced all our lives? And again, we've been indoctrinated, so we're all like spewing out this garbage of indoctrination on each other. We're all spewing it out on each other. Seriously. And when you walk the red road, not the black road, which is, the black road's easy to walk because you don't really give a shit about all this and you just do it anyway. Then there's the red road, where you're mindful of things that you do and mindful of the hurt you cause others. And has thunder caused hurt on others? Hell yes. Yes, I have. I've done things in my life that have hurt other people. And I own up to it. I own up to it. Yes, thunder is a sinner. But Lame Deer said, and what is a sinner really? But Lame Deer said, you got to be a sinner before you can be a saint, in so many words. And he was a bad, bad boy before he became a pipe carrier, which is one of the holiest things you can end up doing. He did all kinds of things. Went on drunken sprees, was a womanizer, stole cars. And this was like in the early days. If an Indian did that, you were in big freaking trouble. But yes, Thunder's done things to other people. But it's a process, where as you grow in age and wisdom and that type of thing, and walk the red road, whether you have done it or not. And I consider myself a person that is at the point. It's hard to put this into words, but I operate by my own set of rules, and that is in accordance with the guidance that I receive on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes when I'm walking this road, I will get the slings and arrows. The slings and arrows will come at me hard and heavy. And sometimes I get weakened. That's when you really need to say, hoka hey, courage up, keep walking no matter what. Keep walking and keep fighting, just like the dog soldiers that staked themselves to the ground and fought and didn't give an inch unto death. Okay? That's the warrior side of me. And sometimes you gotta stake yourself to the ground in life and just take what is coming your way and get through it. Trusting other people in a situation like this is difficult. It's difficult. Because when you put yourself out there and when you trust others, you're opening yourself up to get hurt, okay? But yet, trust you must. You have to trust at all costs. You have to... you can't throw that by the wayside just because somebody hurts you. And the trust might not necessarily be in that person that's hurting you. It might be in the overall higher spirit that will work things out in a manner that will be beneficial to you in some way, either as a lesson in life or, and that's a benefit too. Even though you learn lessons the hard way, it's a benefit. I find that if you connect with spirit and you genuinely, I'll get that out, ask for help, when you go to that higher spirit and you ask for help in a heartfelt manner, then you'll get it. It'll manifest, because when you're going to that higher spirit is your higher self. And so you must ascend and descend. And when you're when you have descended, that's when you learn all the lessons. You either descended because you wanted to, or you got pulled down. But just remember, you can always ascend again. And ascending means connecting with that higher spirit, that higher energy, that higher source that knows the answers to all things and directs you in all your paths and all your relationships with either the government systems, the world, or personal relationships. And so you might have a period of time, and I've gone through this, I might be going through it now, where you get pulled way, way down, and your frequency lowers. But yet Spirit will always be there to send you something to cheer you up on some level, if you look for it. You have to see the silver lining, isn't that what they say, in the darkness? And above all, we have to hold hands on the red road and keep a firm grasp on one another so that when one falls, we don't have to reach out. We're already holding on to him and we pull him up. And if there's a bunch of people that are up with their hands clasped together, they can pull the one that's down up instead of the one that's down pulling the rest down or another person down. And that's why it's so important for community to bond together and create a loving atmosphere. It's one of the reasons I created Campfire Council, and I see that that's going pretty good right now. So, more power to it. We have room for more if anybody wants to join us. There's a link below. Anyway, sometimes we need to just take a break in life, and sometimes we can get caught up into the web of chaos and confusion. Thunder takes a break once in a while. I call it Thunder's disappearing act from everybody. And we need to do that too, because the main thing is going within. Going within. And in order to do that, sometimes we have to detach from people with compassion or groups of people. And we have to go deep within ourselves into a silent ritual so that we can be constantly be reborn, come out of the cocoon like a butterfly, and constantly be rebirthing ourselves into a higher frequency or a higher state of consciousness, or breaking loose from some of the bonds that tie us. That's why it's so important to be a free spirit. When you're a free spirit, there are no hypocritical rules for one another because you're free and you realize what it means to be a free spirit. Being a free spirit means being in tune with the higher spirit, and there are no rules as mandated by the system that we live in. Nothing at all resembling that. There's only one rule regarding others, that they're you and you're them, and you better treat that other person like they are you, or like you would like to be treated. And isn't that what Yeshua said? And again, we all fall short of that. So it's a constant Forgiveness. Forgiveness. Man, it's hard to forgive sometimes with the shit people lay on you. It's really hard. And you really, at times, like I do, I really get disgusted. But that's okay too. It's okay to get disgusted and to get, because it means you're thinking. When something disgusts you, it's usually some kind of hurtful action that's been manifested in your life. So anyway, wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. It's a continual process. And I just felt like, maybe expressing some things today that others feel like they want to express, and maybe that others need, or maybe that I need myself. That's how I am. I always go with the flow. I look at life and I write about it in my books. I look at life and I go, what am I learning from this, and what can help other people? Or what can help me? Hey, I watch my own freaking videos. Because half the time I'm just channeling good energy. I try to channel truthfulness without contradiction. But sometimes that don't happen. But I leave myself open as a channel so that Spirit will try to maybe sometimes move my lips and direct me to say certain things that need to be said. Heartfelt things. Anyway, food for thought, people. Take out of this video what you like. Take out of this video what applies to you. It's meant in the spirit of love. Adios.